Ryan Show, John Cobell, Ken Champeau, KFI, AM 640.
So this collection of legislators came out today in Sacramento and introduced a whole bunch of bills, giveaways to illegal immigrants. It was a package of 10 bills. We told you already the worst is allowing Medi-Cal, as long as you financially qualify, for anybody in the state.
It would add another 1.5 million people to government health care in California. There's already 12 million people. There's already almost a third of the population getting government health care.
As you know how expensive health care is, so that's going to be a tough one on the budget. Maybe Jerry Brown or enough legislators will say that's going too far. This crowd's overdone it.
It's impossible to afford this because even when you have increased tax revenue in good economic years, remember, over 40% of that automatically goes to the schools. So the more revenue you get, the more you have to give to the teachers. So there isn't as much money as you'd think, even in a good year. And then the good year disappears and you have a bad year. And everybody goes, well, where are we going to get the money for all the poor people? Ooh, then it's time to jack up the taxes again. So now this thing has to be shouted down here. This is wrong. You don't come to the state illegally and automatically get tons of costly benefits. That's crazy.
They actually want to pass a bill that would limit the misuse of the E-Verify program and create penalties for abuse by employers. Well, I thought the tough thing was getting people to use E-Verify when hiring.
How do you misuse it?
I don't know.
You put in the information and it tells you if the person's legal or not. How do you...
You come back and tell them they're illegal and then shake them down for money? I don't know. I have no idea.
I've never heard of that.
My favorite is Senate Bill 10 by Ricardo Lara to establish the California Office of New Americans within the governor's office to ensure the state has a comprehensive approach to integrating immigrants. The word American's key there because you're not a new American until you're actually here legally and then you become a citizen and such. So I don't like the tricky language there.
They just say stuff.
Yeah, they want to mesh everything together.
They're new Americans. No, they're not new Americans. Stop it. This is propaganda.
Now, here's an update on something we talked about earlier in the year. How many illegal aliens have shown up to get those new California driver's licenses? Well, it's a tricky story because the headline is nearly 500,000 immigrants living illegally in California have, here's the key word, applied for a driver's license as the state started issuing them. I'd like to know what the failure rates on the testing have been. Because as I understand it, the written test is a real obstacle to some people. And I know in other states, the failure rates were big. They're not saying here yet at the DMV exactly what the numbers of those who actually were granted.
And you know what we'll never know? Whether the DMV will pass people anyway.
Whether you mean the driving test?
Because eventually, don't you think they're just going to declare it racist to fail people who don't answer the questions? Correctly on the test. Eventually that's what activists are going to scream, and the DMV will probably cave in and just pass everybody.
Oh yeah, you're right. They probably will give up, like the schools did years
ago.
Yeah, it's just too much. Just pass them through. They're claiming that this is twice as many as expected, the number of applications, although they estimated that 1.4 million illegal immigrants would apply for a license in the next 3 years. You got to believe that the biggest demand is right there at the beginning. I'm not saying they're not going to reach their 1.4 million in the next couple of years, but everybody just piled up there the first couple of months.
I told somebody the other day that the lines are extremely long and that you can't get an appointment for weeks because of all the illegal immigrants, and they just didn't believe it. They just couldn't believe that the government...
I know somebody just renewed their license, and when they went online looking for appointments, they ended up with they found one in Orange County, an office far away. And they did get an appointment. Yeah. But it was 2 weeks out, and it was far away, but they took it because there's just nothing available.
You might as well drive...
And then when they got there, they told me, oh, my God, the place is just overrun with people without appointments.
You might as well just drive to Oregon and get licensed there. You could drive there and back in a day. Same amount of time it would take you to stand in line here.
All right, coming up next, we'll get back to Governor Fallow and the drought. We'll talk about this new water rationing headline and this other headline that